when I'm feeling lonely, I'll sit in here and have your car give me a hug.
Exactly.
I'll boost it real quick. It sounds great.
Well, you know, we talk a lot, I certainly talk a lot, about driving cars, using your cars, and finding excuses almost to use your car. As you know, my goal when I got this 2022 Ferrari Roma was to drive it as much as I possibly could. And I'm happy to see that I've just passed 6,400 miles, headed to 6,500 miles. On this trip, and this is the kind of trip that is absolutely perfect for this car. To do a tour like this, you know, a 4-day tour where you get to get in your car and live with it every day and drive it in a way that, you know, we don't get a chance to if we're commuting to work.
No, not at all. And I think this is a pretty good choice, Donald.
Yeah, I'd have to say so. This trip and this kind of driving really suits this car extremely well because it has it allows it to express all the attributes that it has. If you need to sort of roll around in traffic at 25 miles per hour, it's perfectly happy. But if you're out on an open road and you want to put your foot down,
oh yeah,
it just goes. And here in this wonderful Vermont fall, where we had brilliant sunshine a little earlier today, and now just a little bit of smattering of drizzle. It's also nice that I've actually used on this trip so far 3 of the 4 driving modes that the car has. I normally drive it around in sport, but I've used comfort a lot, and I've certainly used wet.
So what mode are you in right now?
Sport.
I cannot get over how comfortable this car is. So I remember when you first got this, and obviously you were very, very excited because you were able to achieve your dream of speccing a brand new Ferrari and taking delivery of it and seeing it in Maranello and, you know, bringing it home to Newport. But you know, you were very nice to let me drive the car when you first got it.
You had to.
Yeah, no, and the like you said, the usability of the car is fantastic. There's our covered bridge I think we're trying to find.
Yes it is.
The usability of the cars is fantastic, and I can't get over, for being in sport mode, how comfortable the car is.
This is a car that certainly I've not had the opportunity to drive across the country, but I could.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, a ton of storage space. I see that you've dropped the little latch back here to expose basically a bigger trunk. But, you know, you'd have to be a small person to sit in the back, but you could sit back there. Yeah, and you could have 4 people in this car. You'd mean they'd have to be Ben Chester and my size to sit back there, but you could do it.
Well, the funniest thing is that when the first time I drove a Roma, when the dealer from whom I bought this Ferrari Central Florida had a driving test down in Florida and Amelia Island, and there were 3 of us in the car. Me, a very big friend of mine who you know, Dave Kinney. I was driving, Dave was sitting beside me, and my salesman was sitting in the back seat. And he's not a very small guy, not a big guy either, but he was good for the 15 minutes that I was out driving the car, which is absolutely fantastic. And so yes, you can have somebody in there for a dinner run or something like that. Mm-hmm. You're not going to take them on a 2-hour drive through the country, no. But those folding rear seats, I'm really glad that I put that in the spec, because it was absolutely amazing that the hole that it makes is not just a ski hole. I mean, it actually fits a suitcase through it. So it literally doubled the size of the trunk.
Yeah, it really does. And, you know, speaking of the tour that we're on, I mean, this car has an incredible amount of horsepower, significantly more horsepower than what I brought on the tour. But, you know, there's a whole group of us, and there are your favorite cars, a bunch of Porsches on the tour.
Indeed. Now, again, I'm not a Porsche hater.
No, I know.
I happen to be a Ferrari lover, but I'm not a Porsche hater.
I'm stirring the pot.
Stirring the pot.
But yeah, there's a lot of Porsches but there's a lot of different types of cars, and you know, I brought my Boxster, and I was able to drive that today, and actually had the top down at times, so
Wow.
kind of a different driving experience to this. And then Ben Chester, who you'll be driving with a little bit later, brought his modified BMW 1 Series.
Yeah, I can't wait to experience that car. This is fairly broken road, and it actually behaves pretty well on this.
Yeah, it does.
And that is the thing, you know, again, I'm not going to compare P cars with F cars. But you know, modern 911s are incredibly capable cars that are a lot of fun to drive. But in sport mode on these roads, I would much rather be in this car than in a 911. It was something that, you know, when you get to a point where, you know, it's why we've spoken before about the bizarre thing of the 911 Dakar.
Mm-hmm.
And when I drove the Dakar with Jay, it just reinforced again that opinion that I have of that car, which is that it takes all of what's best about a modern 911 and then adds a double dose of usability to it.
100%.
So
the Dakar is amazing to drive, and I was thinking about that today when we were on that pretty bumpy road. I was really wishing that I had the suspension from the Dakar in my Boxster. But that being said, on you know, a road like this or some of the more normal roads that we were on, I was really amazed with how comfortable my car was, all things considered, with, you know, Sam in the car as well. So 2 people in the car,
Yeah.
we had camera gear and everything, and we were totally comfortable. And I often think about how I could modify my car, maybe putting bucket seats or whatever and doing all these things. But then I'm like, do I really want to do that? Because it's like right at the point where it's just comfortable enough where I can drive it for several hours and not have back problems. Oh, I didn't realize it popped like that.
Oh yeah, it's astonishing. Again, you know, it is this wonderful creature of dual characters.
Yeah.
And so
That sounds really good.
You're also being incredibly polite, because when you posted that story on Instagram about, well, what should I do next to my car? And of course, you didn't acknowledge the smart comment that I made. Perhaps buy a 4C.
Yeah, I saw that and I laughed. I do really lust for a 4C. A 4C would be so much fun.
You see, and you know, again, me not being a Porsche hater and understanding the true attributes and defects of Italian cars, the 4C is a phenomenal car that for me is a 20-minute driver.
Yeah.
After that, it just tortures you. It kills you.
I don't know if I could deal with the 4C on a trip like this.
Yeah, the 4C on a trip like this would be roughly akin to what I experienced at Goodwood with the Lotus Elise.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was aging by the second.
Yeah, you were. I think on day 4 or 5 there, you had to get a cortisone shot.
Yeah.
From being bounced around. That was crazy.
It was, I had fully scrambled brain.
Yeah.
And you know, the horrible thing is, of course, that again, the car is a lot of fun to drive.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's just a limit to what you need in a car that you're going to drive every day. I could not imagine commuting every day in a Lotus Elise.
No. So good.
Look at that airplane.
So good.
And again, also the fact that you talk about the comfort in the car, but also, of course, it's got, now this is very annoying, all the things, but the seat adjustments. You've got 14 million seat adjustments.
Wow. I didn't even know that. Is this my seat or
that's your seat?
Okay.
So use the plus and minus. So that's the bolster, the thigh bolster.
Wow, look at that. Incredible. I mean, not something that you'd want to be doing during
No, you don't do this while you're driving.
Wow. I mean, so you can make the seat incredibly sporty if you really
Correct.
want it to.
Exactly.
I did not realize that. And now it's giving me a hug. That's cool. Wow.
Si, Carino. This is the Carino mode.
When I'm feeling lonely, I'll sit in here and have your car give me a hug.
Exactly. I'll have a hug.
Oh, that's nice.
And a double cappuccino, please.
The lumbar is really good.
And at low and also mid, sort of like L4, L3, L4 and L5, it's fantastic. Absolutely
that's
great.
Awesome. Well, you also talk about, okay, that's incredibly usable, but given that it just started raining, this car also has the rain mode. Correct.
The wet mode, and the first time I used wet mode, it was very funny. I'd had the car for about 3 weeks. Picked up the car in Orlando, Florida, and immediately had it shipped out to Monterey because I was going to be there for the month of August.
Yep.
And woke up one morning in Carmel, pulled out of the driveway. It was really foggy Monterey morning, and I put it into first gear. I go, I said, that's what wet is for. So, I never ever felt on this trip, and now it's raining rather steadily. It's I'm actually still in comfort. I can go to wet, so that if I put my foot down, I don't have to worry about that. And see how it really smooths out the shift. It won't let me do that jump down.
No, it'll ease you into it.
Exactly. It allows me to use all the torque the car has, but it won't give me that shift down that would cause the rear wheels to break away. The other thing which is very interesting as well is I'm always astonished, and this is obviously due to the gearing, about the fuel economy this thing gets. A tank of fuel.
How many gallons does this hold?
I don't know. I don't remember. I want to say
17, 18.
Yeah, 17, 18, something like that. And with mostly highway driving, you can get well over 400 miles to a tank.
Wow.
And it's absolutely astonishing because literally on the highway at 80 miles per hour, you're turning 1,800 RPM.
Yeah, it's not working that hard. People get kids, everybody get really excited when they see a Ferrari because when you think sports car, most people think Ferrari or supercar, whatever it may be.
And it is, I've said this before, you alluded to it at the beginning of our talk here in the car. Driving this car, owning this car is without a doubt the realization of a dream come true. Mm-hmm. I've driven a lot of really wonderful cars, old and new. I sit behind the wheel of this car in this chair and look at the steering wheel with that yellow circle and that black horse, and my heart beats faster.
Yeah.
It just does.
100%.
And then, thank God, the car actually delivers on the promise.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Well, I think this was a good drive. I think you're ready to experience a different kind of tour car.
Indeed.
Mr. Benjamin Chester.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I've looked at that car in parking lots for years now, and I've been dying to get into that car. So we'll see what this is like.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chester,
Yes,
here I
sir.
am finally in the legendary one.
Yes.
Der Eins, as we call
Yep.
it. I've walked by this car for years in the parking lot.
Yep.
I actually even sat in it once.
Yeah, I tried to.
Exactly. Before we went out on this drive, I said, look at that rainbow. Wow,
it's right
beautiful.
there.
Before we went on this drive, I said, you've got new seats.
Yeah.
Because I said that butt clincher that you had in here before, it's like, that was not a happening thing.
Yeah. So these are, this is a constant project that I've had. Actually, this week, Donald, now that I think about it, I've had this car for 10 years this week. So
congratulations. Happy birthday.
That's a big milestone.
You are a flipper, clearly.
Yeah. Just here to make money. But yeah, part of the evolution is just changing things up, and these seats have been a recent add to the recipe. E92 M3 leather seats, adjustable bolsters. You got to be comfortable, and I think that's the theme of what we're getting to here.
They are very comfortable, and it's a funny thing. Zagato is obviously known for the great coachwork on the racing cars that they built and some of the road cars, but the Zagato family were also racers, and one of the successes of their cars was the fact that they designed their own seats, because they knew that a racer had to be comfortable in the car. Doesn't matter how fast it was. If your back starts to ache and your thighs go numb, it's not happening.
Yep.
And you also said something which I'd like to delve into a little more deeply. I've been having conversations with some folks about a story that I did years ago, where I was asked by a magazine to cover an import tuner show in Fontana, California. And you can imagine the editorial meeting. I thought, oh, won't this be hysterical? Bow tie wearing Donald that goes to Pebble Beach and Philadelphia goes to an import tuner show. Oh, this will be hysterical.
Right.
And I said, don't write the story for me before I get a chance to write it. Let me just go and experience it. And I went and I had a fantastic time, met great people, and everyone who I met said exactly what you just said when we started in this car. Their cars were projects. They were never going to be finished.
It's never finished. And I've had this car for 10 years. We're talking about touring and being comfortable and road trips. Basically, the reason I bought this car was because I live in Rhode Island and I went to school in Arizona. And, I was looking for I wanted a BMW, I wanted a coupe, and I needed something reliable. So you really can't go out and buy, an M3 and beat on it because things go wrong and
that gets expensive really fast.
Yeah, so this, the 135 with this engine is extremely reliable. I ended up doing 6 cross-country road trips to Arizona and back. I bought the car with 17,000 miles, and by the end of this Vermont tour, I will have ticked over 211,000 miles. We've done the rod bearings, we've done all the coolant lines recently, turbo lines recently, and also a bigger turbo went in the last month or two. So from the stock 300 horsepower, we haven't done the final tuning yet. I still got to get it on a dyno, but we're looking at right now probably about 450 crank horsepower, hoping to get 450 to the wheels.
Now, one of the things that I think is really important to think about and consider is that people often only think about horsepower.
Right.
And you have had enough experience with this car in particular and with tuning cars in general that you understand that it's not simply about throwing in a chip, making a bigger turbo, because it's a system. This car is a complete system.
I always tell people, once you get comfortable with the car, you add power, but at the same time, you still want the car to grip. You still want the car to have good brakes. You still want the suspension to work as it should. And I've tried to dial everything in just so everything complements itself and each other.
And you have to in order to actually enjoy a car. Otherwise, it would be a car that you'd like to spend 10 minutes in, or maybe a couple of 20-minute sessions on a track day, and then you say, okay, fine, I'm going to move on.
No. And that's what's fun about cross-country road trips. And, I was just talking with Caitlin, who we worked with yesterday. She called me nuts for doing so many road trips. But that's what's so fun. You get up in the morning at 5, 6 in the morning. You have a destination in mind, which is 14 hours away, and your focus is driving. And, I would do it with my dad or with, one of my friends from school, and it's just the best because you're not thinking about anything except driving the car. And in a car like this, it's fun to do. And we won't talk about the speeds that you're able to do in the middle of the country where the roads are flat, straight, and open, but it's much more fun to do it in a car like this as opposed to something like a Chrysler Town & Country, for example.
Well, it's also interesting. The tour that we're on this week is also fantastic because we get to live with our cars every day the way we want to. It's not the commute that you have. This is a fantastic car, but this is a commuter car. It's fine because you've tuned it and the seats, and you've made it comfortable so that it is not something that you think, oh my God, I've got to endure that trip in the car. No, it's something which is pleasurable. Isn't the road great?
This is beautiful. Holy, it just opens up. Holy
it's absolutely
crap.
Amazing.
I haven't been to Vermont, sorry to interrupt. I haven't been to Vermont in the fall, but this is one of the most beautiful, areas of scenery I think I've ever witnessed in my life. It is stunning out here with the leaves changing, leaves falling everywhere. We've had good weather so far, and this is the most pleasant 44 degrees I've ever felt with the sun out. It's just beautiful.
I was chatting with Antonio about cars that like the twisties and cars that like the sweepers. And this is a car I can just tell so far. We haven't had lots of tight bends so far, but this is a car that really thrives on this open sweeper kind of road. And
yes,
to me that's some of the most pleasurable driving you can have.
It is, and this is a car I really learned on my first cross-country trips how dynamic the driving experience was, because with a short wheelbase and torque, you get it into second on a back road, and it adjusts very easily.
Right.
And you get it out 80, 90, 100 miles an hour when you're in the country of Mexico. And it does the sweepers very well because it's got the long gears and it's got the torque. So you think about what your ideal cross-country car is, and a lot of people say an M5 or an E63S, but
which are great long.
They're great. Oh, it's perfect. But if something comes up where you're trapped between two trucks and you see an opening very quickly, a car like this is able to dart around very easily without feeling stressed.
Right.
And it does a great job of doing all the different activities that I like to do. Back roads, road trips, driving to work. It's a really dynamic car, and it does it, extremely well.
I'll have to say to you, and I know this will shock you.
Yeah, sure.
So hold on to the steering wheel, not tightly, because a good driver never holds tightly to the steering wheel, but I am really impressed with this car.
Huh.
I had a mental idea, and this is also wonderful because I love having my mind opened. I had an idea of what this car was like by walking by it, hearing you talk about it, and it is very much what I thought it would be, and so much more.
Well, and I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, it is really terrific because I think a lot of this, and I'm not just saying this because you're behind the wheel and your foot is on the accelerator and my life is in your hands, but I think that what we started out this conversation with about what your approach is to tuning a car makes all the difference in the world, because there are those people out there that just say, I want to make my car go fast, or I want to make my car look neat, and don't think about how it all fits together.
Yep.
And if you don't, disaster ensues.
Oh yeah. And there's been some things with this car that I've modified and then undid. I did polyurethane engine mounts, for example. Too much vibration. Changed them back to OEM, and it's just one of those things where you try it out, you spend the money, doesn't work. You're playing with cars. Nothing about this is cheap, so you might as well flirt around and have a little fun. Like I said, I just got this turbo installed within the last month or two. I've only put the pedal down twice in the week that I've had it, so we're still kind of exploring the power, but
Now, is there a wastegate? Is there a maximum boost?
Yeah. Listen for it. Ready? I'll boost it real quick. It sounds great.
That does sound absolutely wonderful. I think your tires are not quite up to the power of the turbo. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, I have to say, here we are in probably the least fun part of driving any terrific car, which is traffic. But even in traffic.
You want your seat heater on, Donald?
Well, I don't know.
We've got it. If you want
it. It's amazing. And
I'm glad you like the car.
I am so pleasantly surprised and really happy for you, because this is really terrific. It is a true labor of love, and I respond to emotional connections with cars far more than the value of a car or the rarity of a car. It's about how a person relates to their car, and clearly this car, you and this car are bonded.
I think so too. I never see myself selling it. It's been 10 years, and I always say I want to get to 500,000 miles. I want to get to 1 million miles, and
fantastic.
We'll just keep it going.
I love it. Thanks for the ride.
Absolutely. So seat heater or no?
No.